I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. I have fallen out of love with Honkai Star Rail. Does that mean that it's a horrible game? It's left to the perception of everybody. But to me, I'm not very happy with the state of Honkai Star Rail. I have plenty of reasons why this is, and I really want to just dive into them. Now, some of you might be going, why should I care? Well, to me, I feel like these are universal things in regards to Honkai Star Rail that should pertain to most players. And that's just my opinion on it. So if you like this video or like the content, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell to be notified when the next video comes out on this channel. Now, I want to preface this with, this has been kind of a long time coming. I've been seeing the things with Honkai Star Rail for a while, and I've noticed that over time, which is surprising to say versus games like Genshin Impact, that I would be quitting Honkai Star Rail. I've seen over time that my love for the game has just been dwindling out. And I hate saying that because, again, like, I love turn-based RPGs. I've been a turn-based RPG player, obviously, since, like, I was a kid when Final Fantasy VII was out there, you know? And this is the original Final Fantasy VII, by the way. By the way, don't mind my disheveled look. My beard is not wanting to cooperate with me today. It's kind of a little weird. It's like going curvy and all that, which sucks. But yeah, so in regards to like turn-based RPGs, I've been playing since the OG Final Fantasy VII. I played a bunch of them since then. Obviously, like, you know, like I said, the Final Fantasies have been like the biggest thing for me. Pokemon, obviously, being a turn-based RPG, and so on and so forth, right? You know, Legend of Dragoon type stuff. I have to play that again. It's been forever. But when it came to Honkai Star Rail, I started out in the closed beta test 2. I was able to get in, very surprisingly, and I fell in love with the game. I loved the intro scene, even though it wasn't voiced with Kafka and Stell at the time. I just enjoyed, like, the systems. They were very simplistic. It wasn't so overly complicated for somebody who had played a like more complicated turn-based RPGs. Not saying that the games that I listed were complicated, but those are the ones that I can remember off the top of my head. But going to that is very simplistic, very easy to understand, and the characters just in general felt like you would like them. And sucked that they weren't voiced at the time, but you know, after closed beta test 2, going into the launch of Honkai Star Rail, hearing the voices just brought that much more love to the game. I really enjoyed playing through the story of, you know, Eurillo 6 and playing through, you know, like all the different like boss battles that we had. You know, remember the first time we ever freaking fought, you know, what's her name? Bronya's mom. I can't remember her name for some reason. But yeah, playing through that and hearing the song was insane. And then we shot into like all the different storylines, learning about, you know, Herta, Ron May, and just seeing all these worlds kind of develop and become like, you know, centerpieces to the story. Now, as time went on, obviously the story got a little bit more complicated and a little bit harder to understand at times. I won't lie, like, Penacony had its moments of like me going, what the hell, what is this? But honestly, I'm going to be the outlier here. A lot of people are going to disagree with me. I loved Penacony. I thought that Penacony was really, really good. I didn't think it was like the all-time best gacha story in the world. That's, in my opinion, Nikkei. But I will say that Penacony just seemed like a lot of fun, and the twists and turns that I would have with it were just insane to me. I loved it. But again, like, you know, I'm also the type of person that, you know, didn't like certain famous shows like, you know, Game of Thrones. I'm not a fan of it. I didn't think it was great. But either way, that's a topic for another day. I already know that I'm pissing off a lot of people as it is. But yeah, like, I actually enjoyed Penacony, but I saw the writing on the wall. I just didn't want to believe it, right? And I'm sure a lot of people can reflect back and kind of see it as well. You know, big things like HP inflation becoming a big thing, seeing units that just released become the new top tier unit, which is something in gacha games that is really prevalent, but can also be contained a little bit. I do want to reference again Goddess of Victory Nikke. Love those guys. Shift Up has done an amazing job with that game. And not every character that comes out is the most powerful unit in the game, right? They're very good about keeping balance to the game, I guess, is the best way to put it. But yeah, there was the writing on the wall, and Tectone had the HP inflation stuff going on, new characters becoming the new top tier units, events just becoming stagnant and boring. It didn't help that a lot of the voice acting stuff was happening around this time as well, near the end of Tectone. What I mean by that is I really started getting annoyed with the game around 2.6. And a lot of people might say that this is kind of unfair for me to put this on HSR, but it was a creative direction that they did for a live stream that really annoyed me and pissed me off. And it's very dumb. People will say like you have no reason to crash out, but if you watch the 2.6 live stream and you loved the little bird cheep for like 10 minutes, I feel like you need to be put in a straitjacket and put in a white padded room, right? That was annoying. And you could even see it in my reaction. A lot of people gave me flack for it. A lot of people were like, you're picking on this specific thing. You didn't even cover any of like what's good about the game. Well, to be fair, it put me in a mindset where I was like, okay, well, now I'm kind of irritated instead of being hyped for this patch. So let's see what actually comes out. And it was a nothing burger. The only good thing from that patch, I think that was coming out, was Rappa. And Rappa, even then, I was just kind of like, okay, unit doesn't make a patch. And I want to be clear on this. I've said this multiple times in multiple videos. A new unit is not content. I want that to be absolutely clear to people. Like, you could love Rappa. You absolutely could love Rappa. But if you look back at 2.6 and say that that was a good patch, I think you're wrong. I think that you really need to just take a moment to step back and rethink what you're trying to say. Because honestly, 2.6 was kind of the turning point for me. I already knew about the HP inflation. The endgame stuff was kind of getting annoying with Pure Fiction. I think we just got Abyssal Shadow, and I was having a hard time with that and keeping up with all the new units. And it just sucked. Not to mention, too, like the amount of 4 stars that were being released comparatively to 5 stars, which, to be fair, as a game that's trying to make money, you would want more 5 stars, right? Well, you also want to balance it out and give us some new 4 stars, too, which has been a while. So that's something to think about as well. Now we move on to the 3.0s, because even with like the Fugui patch, I was super happy about that because I love Fugui, I love Tingyun, I love that storyline in general when it comes to her. It's a beautiful storyline. It really is, in my opinion. I think it's fantastic. I don't know if anybody would disagree with me on that. If you do, you know, it is what it is. But I love the whole thing about the Tingyun storyline. I really do. But fast forward to Amphorius, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe we just need a new area. Maybe this is exactly what we need, right? And we go into 3.0. I'm hyped for it. I'm like, yeah, can't wait to try out this new area. And, you know, more of the HP inflation. The new units being the best, I already knew that was going to happen with the Herda and Aglaya. I already knew that was going to be the case. So that wasn't something that I wasn't privy to, right? And then we get into the story, and I'm just baffled. I'm not saying that it's a terrible story. The story is not bad. The pacing is terrible. Pacing's terrible. The black screens with white text. And then it just seemed like the devs weren't listening. And that's when I started going, this is going to be another Genshin Impact for me. And I say this because I still feel that Genshin Impact has those moments of just being like, the devs don't care. And granted, I feel like Genshin Impact is easier to play than Honkai Star Rail. It really is. Like, people who are complaining about, you know, the Spiral Abyss stuff and all that stuff, like, listen, HP inflation is going to be a thing in regards to characters, or in regards to gacha games all the time. But the difference between HP inflation is it took them 4 years to have a massive HP inflation for this latest Spiral Abyss, compared to the 1 year really, that we started seeing the massive HP inflations in regards to Honkai Star Rail, at least in my opinion, from what it seemed like. Now, even with all that, I was still willing to give it, what it needed. I was like, you know what? Honkai Star Rail is going to get better. Honkai Star Rail is going to be great. And this is a normal thing for a lot of players of gacha, right? This isn't just to me. Like, a lot of players of gacha are like, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Again, reference to the Genshin Impact community. A lot of them keep on saying this, or a lot of them think it's still the greatest game of all time. I'm sorry to tell y'all, it's not. Same with Honkai Star Rail. But I had hope, and I was being realistic, but I was also being hopeful at the same time. I was like, you know what? The game state is not so great right now, but I feel as though later on down the road, they'll see what we're complaining about, see that we're trying to tell them, like, hey, you're going a little too fast, you're getting a little big for your britches there. And that didn't happen. They addressed the black screen with white text, and they changed it to white screen with black text. The stories were still 8 hours long, with 90% of it being just dribble and yapping, right? Characters were still overpowered. Every character that came out was more powerful than the next. And we get to 3.3's live stream, and here I am. The one thing I'm clinging on to is Castris, because I love Castris. I think Castris's character is so good. Like, I loved her style. I loved the background of Castris. I think that she was fantastic. And for me, because I'm an official Hoyo creator, I tend to keep myself away from leaks. Now, I can't obviously I can't get myself away from all of them, right? I'm in multiple chats and people talk about it. But I always say, don't believe leaks until you see the official announcements. And during that live stream, we saw the official announcement. And Castris was great. So great, even, that she is the new cornerstone of a brand new mechanic in Honkai Star Rail. And we all know this. It's the global passive, where they don't even need to be on your team. And that's what's sad. That's what broke me. That's legitimately what broke my spirit when it came to Honkai Star Rail, because that was probably one of the most pay-to-play situations I'd ever seen, or things I've ever seen, whatever. It was brutally, insane. It just was. Like, there's no sugarcoating it, and people still defended it. And I'm like, guys, if you're going to look at a game and chill it, it should be a game that's pretty nice to everybody in general. Not something that's super pay to play. Now, again, people could say it's not PvP, so why does it matter? You're absolutely right. It's not a PvP game. I'm not playing against, Shinya. I'm not playing against Box 2, Mr. Pokey, Tectone. I'm not playing against any of those big guys trying to make, some, me look good in the Honkai Star Rail space. I'm not trying to beat them in anything. There's I'm not here to zero cycle everything that happens, I'm not doing that. But at the end of the day, you see this and you're like, okay, if they're implementing this, it means that everything's going to get worse. What did they do? I believe, if I remember correctly, there is a boss in there that can one-shot kill you. So if you don't have a Castris, or you don't beat him in the amount of time, or beat them in the amount of time, and I could be wrong. This is just something that I had seen and I haven't played since 3.2. It's one of those things where, you know what? Let me go ahead. That's speculative. I don't even know if that's the case. But in my opinion, I do feel as well that if they haven't done so, they're going to implement a boss that will one-shot you if you don't do a certain, or make a certain criteria. Is it going to be difficult to where you're going to have Castris? Probably not. It's probably going to be more like a 60-40. 40% of the time you could actually beat that mechanic, and then 60% of the time you will probably just restart. But at the same time, I do feel as though it's gonna happen, and having Castris is just gonna make that easier. It's not gonna require anything, and That's where the pay-to-play functionality comes in. Overall, it really killed my wantingness to play the game. And I'm not very happy about it. I'm not very happy about it. And I know that I'm not the only one. I'm probably one of the few people that's actually quitting playing Honkai Star Rail because of the issues that have recently transpired. I know that it's a very vocal minority. I know that there's people even on Twitter and in other communities that actually love these changes and are praising them and like, yeah, praise Hoyoverse, guys. I just can't. I think it's terrible. I think it sets an unhealthy precedent in regards to gacha games. I think that it's going to, now that people have seen like doing this with Castris and making just over $100 million just mobile alone, by the way. The fact that that's even plausible, I think that a lot of gacha, games in general are going to go that route. I hope not. I really hope not. I hope that none of the other big four actually do this, but two of them are in the same umbrella, so it's highly possible. And a lot of people are complaining about ZZZ having these same things, and I'm like, I don't think so. Miyabi's still like overpowered AF. A lot of the characters that we're getting are not like on that same level as Miyabi. HP inflation is kind of not as bad in my opinion. I know that my editor would probably be mad about me saying that, but honestly, I don't see the HP inflation issue yet on there. It's very minuscule, but I digress. And then Genshin, I think that they want to appeal to more of the casual base, so I don't really see that massive HP inflation coming up anytime soon outside of just this recent Spiral Abyss. And honestly, most people will probably complain and put it in a survey and maybe they'll change it. I don't know. But my overall point is that Honkai Star Rail, in my opinion, is in a very terrible state. I feel as though that there's a lot of things that could change for the better with the game, but I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. I really don't. And it sucks because I was super excited for the Fate collab. I was super excited for Castris. I didn't summon on Castris. I was so mad. I was so mad, and I really wanted her. She was so cool, dude. I really wanted all the stuff that she had going for her. And then, like I said, Archer and Saber coming out for the Fate collab was really cool. So what does this mean for the channel? Well, I will still be covering like live streams when they happen or any major news. I'm not going to be covering character reveals. I'm not going to be covering really like smaller news like the events and all that stuff. Like when a live stream comes out, I'm not going to be posting like the shorts like I normally do for it, unless it's like super big news. Outside of that though, it's just live streams and big news. And even then, sooner rather than later, I'm probably going to cut ties with covering that. I'm done with Honkai Star Rail. Now, don't get me wrong. If you still play Honkai Star Rail, that's you. I'm not going to tell you not to play Honkai Star Rail. I don't think that anybody should just quit because I said I don't like it, right? I'm not that type of person. I think that people should come up with their own distinction of what they like about a gacha game. And if they do truly like it, even if I think it's something that is wrong morally, and if it's something that we shouldn't do, or something that we shouldn't like put on a pedestal, that's you. More power to you. I'm just choosing not to be a part of that because I feel like it's not good. So, but yeah, guys. Sorry, I got a little emotional. I do love Honkai Star Rail. I really do. It just sucks because the things that you love aren't always going to love you back. It's just how it is. And in my personal opinion, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Honkai Star Rail does not love you. It doesn't. So, anyways, y'all, yeah, love you guys. We'll be covering other games. So, yeah, if you like the content, make sure you like and subscribe button down below. Hopefully this felt a little more real. I know that I usually go into my high-pitched and super awesome voice, but I wanted to be very real with you. I wanted to be very raw so that you understand where I'm coming from. But this is going on for 20 minutes. I'll leave it be. Love you guys to death. And as always, we will catch you in that next video. Please take care and be safe.